Hi, my name's John McGraw, and I'm excited to be participating with you in this inclusion video series. And when I was thinking about inclusion, I immediately thought about how challenging inclusion is, right? It requires more effort, more energy. It can slow us down. But there's this old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Inclusion is about playing the long game. And today I want to focus on a really important aspect of inclusion, and that's connection. Connection is a basic human need, and it is critical for team performance. I got to see this firsthand in my career playing the ultimate team sport, the game of football at the Division I level, and then 10 seasons in the NFL. And I got to play on a lot of different teams, a lot of different levels of connection, and I always saw a direct reflection to our performance on the field, to the level of connection we had in the locker room. So why is connection so hard? Why do so many people feel alone, disconnected, and why are so many teams underperforming due to a lack of connection? Well, Scottish psychiatrist R.D. Laing said this: "The range of what we think and do is limited by what we fail to notice. And because we fail to notice that we fail to notice, there is little we can do to change until we notice how failing to notice shapes our thoughts and deeds." I'm going to say that again for us. The range of what we think and do is limited by what we fail to notice. And because we fail to notice that we fail to notice, there's little we can do to change until we notice how failing to notice shapes our thoughts and deeds. And there's no better day for me to be recording this than June 19th or Juneteenth, the day that many of our Black brothers and sisters celebrate their independence. And the events over the last few weeks have demonstrated to me that I have failed to notice. Brené Brown said, "In order to empathize with someone's experience, you must be willing to believe them as they see it, and not how you imagine their experience to be." And it's very natural for all of us to assume that our perspective is most accurate, and then project that onto everyone else, and there's nothing more damaging to connection. I want you to take a look at this white piece of paper, and I want you to see what you notice most. And if you're like most people, you notice this dot right here. And while 99% of this paper is all the same, you probably didn't notice that. What you noticed most was that dot, that part that made it different. And in similar fashion, we fail to notice the 99% that we all have in common and get fixated on that 1% that makes us different. At a DNA level, you and I are 99.9% the same. And while we should acknowledge and celebrate that 0.1%, that uniqueness is not what makes us special. We are special because we are the same. Beyond DNA, we all have hopes and dreams, ups and downs, joy and pain and worries and burdens to carry. And it's in that sameness that we're connected, and that connection is our strength. There's a parable of two young fish, and they're swimming along, and they pass a slightly older and wiser fish. And he says to the two young fish, he says, "Hey boys, how's the water?" And the two boys swim on, and eventually one turns to the other and says, "What the heck is water?" Kind of makes sense, right? Sometimes we can fail to notice the most obvious and sometimes the most important elements of life. So what are we failing to notice? With our families, our coworkers, our friends, and even strangers we meet on a daily basis? Because when we notice, we acknowledge. And when we acknowledge, we validate. When we validate, we empathize. And when we empathize, we love. So to notice is to love. To notice is to connect. To improve at noticing, we have to train our attention. And one of the best ways to practice this relationally is to intentionally slow down the pace of your interactions. So I challenge you to pick out a family member, maybe a coworker that you'd like to connect more with this week. And when you interact with them, just slightly slow down your pace. Slow the pace of your thinking, your talking. Notice the experience and try to see them as if you're seeing them for the first time. This skill is often referred to as new eyes, where you're going to see them and see them in this situation like you're seeing them for the first time. And I want you to notice what happens. I want you to notice the experience. I want you to notice how similar you are to them. I want you to simply notice them. So don't go so fast that you don't get to go far. Let's go far together. Thank you.